We're going to be really mild. I think the big message here is we're going to go into mid-January, folks, with more of this sort of stuff. It's not going to be sunny every day, and it won't be totally dry every day, but there is no storminess in the next week, probably 10 days. So that's good news there. The wine pods look cozy there as the sun has set. Hey, we've gained about 15 minutes of daylight in the evening since the solstice back in mid to late December. So you'll start to see the evenings get a little brighter here. You will continue to see the evenings get brighter, I should say, and you'll start to see the mornings brighten up in the second half of January. That's when it becomes a little more noticeable in the morning as we come out of the darkest time of the year. But it is pretty dark out there. 48 degrees in Salem right now. Portland, beautiful evening. 50 degrees still, light easterly breeze. That east wind will pick up during the night. If you're on the east side of town and in the West Hills, I think you'll notice the wind later tonight. Up on Mount Hood, beautiful up there. I see a few tracks. A few people went up there today, way up top, or near the top at least. 34 degrees up there at Ski Bowl. And look at the numbers today. So we were only 1 degree from the high temperature record for the date. There are records for each date, and there are records for the month. I think the monthly record is 66, so we were nowhere near that. But the point is, it was definitely on the warm side here in Salem. You were close to 60. Although since last summer, sometimes we think that sensor runs a little bit warm. All right, so tonight, mainly clear west of the Cascades. Finally, for the first time in a couple weeks, we're going to see normal low temperatures, which means areas of frost in the outlying spots away from the cities. But most of us in the 30s, west side, 20s east of the Cascades. It looks like a big weather system approaching right. You saw the high clouds showing up on our camera views. Well, that's not the case because it's going to dissolve as it moves through what we call a ridge of high pressure, which means basically an area of a dome of sinking and drying air. When that happens, cloud cover moves through and it just dissipates. So again, we go higher in the atmosphere, and you can see how typically the flow in the atmosphere is like up in this blue area here. Look how it's going around us. This is right now. We go into tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday. All the action is still going around us, and then the cold air is plunging out of Canada into the eastern USA. There's a little wiggle that goes through Friday, and there's a second one right there Saturday, and that's why we think there'll be a lot more cloud cover those 2 days and some light showers, but that's it. And look how it's back by Monday and Tuesday of next week. So cloud cover-wise, tomorrow's going to be like what we're seeing right now with the thin high clouds overhead. West of the Cascades, not totally blue skies, but still a bright day. A little weather system dissolves as it moves over Wednesday for a cloudier start, then some afternoon sunshine on Wednesday, and then Thursday looks sunny as well. So easy forecast here. Oops, let me back up. Hit the button one too many times. There could be a patch or two of fog tomorrow morning in the calm areas, but I think in the metro area, most of us will just start fog-free with some thin high clouds, and that continues throughout the day. A little cooler, I think we'll stop at 50 with that cooler east wind coming out of the gorge. And then Wednesday, the wind goes calm. Maybe some sprinkles in the morning, small chance, but some clouds for sure. And then Thursday, it's back to the gusty east wind. Friday and Saturday, the two grayest days, and the 2 days where there may be a few, I think there will be a few showers around. So that'll keep us in the 40s, and then back to dry weather Sunday and Monday. So pretty easy forecasting and pretty easy living life here, I think, over the next week.